Hello, I'm Harold Metzel, founder of 10 Talent Stewardship, where we show you how to put planned giving into action in your church. How are you doing at this disciple making? You know, it's thrilling to see people come into relationship with the Lord, but sometimes later it's disheartening to watch some of them stagnate, like a stunted child, having life but without growth. And I know you offer classes to train them, and those times of instruction do produce results. But are those efforts really making better disciples? Gunnar Johnson at Gateway Church in Southlake, Texas, provides a helpful way for us to think about this. He suggests that we begin by thinking about the problems that are faced by any group or segment within the church. Now, Gunnar is the pastor of financial stewardship at his church. So looking across the congregation from his point of view, he sees 4 categories of financial capacity: those who struggle, those who are stable, the solid, and those with surplus. The people in each of those categories, he said, face different kinds of problems, obstacles that are specific to them, hurdles for them to overcome. So Gunnar designed programs to address those issues for each of those categories. And any church can do this. And also, it's not just restricted to stewardship. Here's an easy way that you can do it. First of all, step number 1 is to segment the congregation. That is, think of categories and limit them in the beginning. Just a few to start with. You can dig deeper, expand broader later on. Which categories would you like to look at? Maybe financial capacity, like Gunnar did. Or maybe age groups, possibly different stages of life. Once you've identified them, ask the leaders of those segment groups to brainstorm together. What are the problems that each group faces? Have them develop then a list of those challenges for you. Step number 2 is to convert those individual segments into sort of a collage. Bring those group leaders together then, and as they each present their findings, you can convert their work into that collage, like an overall picture. You can use a whiteboard or flip chart, a mind map, whatever you're most comfortable with. But this landscape view will give you perspective. And from that, you can now begin designing your approach to meet those needs. An effective training matrix isn't made up just of a curriculum or a series of classes. Rather, it begins with identifying problems. When a patient, for instance, is admitted to the emergency room, before any action is taken, what comes first? Triage. And that's step number 3. That is, you create a listing and an assessment of what's wrong and what's causing the problem. A 19-year-old guy with a nosebleed and a 67-year-old with chest pain are different. And when the triage nurse knows what the problem is, it becomes clear what help a patient requires. And the same applies to any training system. Step number 4 then is to, out of that, create a training matrix. Think of these segment groups as patients in the emergency room, and the struggles within each group, because they're different, can then be analyzed. Those who have surplus, for instance, won't be interested in classes for people to teach them how to budget. They don't need that. It's not where they hurt. They'd prefer a class on growing their wealth or retaining their earnings. Triage eliminates wasted time and effort, and you also directly solve problems that way. When you know what's hurting people, you have their attention. There won't be any sales pitch needed. Enrollment in classes will take care of itself. So remember, teaching before identifying the problem is almost like opening a patient's chest and hoping to discover the problem once you're in. By designing a training matrix, you create a stronger plan. And it's pretty easy to create. Pencil out the segments as you see them, and then have your team spell out the needs of each group. Form your collage and create your matrix. I promise, it'll help you and make better disciples.